welcome back to another Linux Gamecast Weekly, the show that covers the latest Linux gaming news, reviews, how-tos, and most importantly, whatever the hell else we come up with. And this week, CryEngine Preview 2 is open for business and public access, but there's still not going to be any word on that Star Citizen Linux port, and it is quite official. SteamOS has snapped Flatpak support firmly into place. Yeah, I see what it did there.
OpenGL 4.6 is out, and NVIDIA wants to spur some cross-stack compatibility. And it's das über Dolphin! And it's talking shit about macOS drivers.
One more survival game on Steam leaves early access. The Long Dark lets you brave post-apocalyptic Canada. It's actually not that much of a thing. And our group of favorite insane developers make an appearance. OpenMW and a new version of RPCS3 bring a report of their July progress.
I'm Ben Stone here at LGC Actual, switching the bits, running the boards, doing the Nightmare Fuel, and joined every week by our man up north to my right. It's Master Svang.
Hello. Please don't hit me, Ben.
And joined, he's back, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello. Hopefully I will be a bit more recurring in the coming weeks. Who knows?
It is Juan Pedro Mateas, and together with Shot Realm, Dynamic, and Discord, and the IRC, helping us form that last, most important bit of Cocaine Voltron. It's kind of brilliant. Hey guys, what's been going on? Before we get started, we'd like to see what's going on in each other's life organs. What's been going on, Jay Baby?
All right. So I go to a regular D&D game, and this week we decided to playtest something. So the guy said, make some high-level characters. You can use whatever magic items you want. So I'm flipping through the book, and there's an item that will produce an infinite quantity of mayonnaise. And I thought to myself, okay, I have to pick this item. I have to find some use for it. And I did.
He's not lying. I get a text message. He's like, I found a use for infinite amount of mayonnaise.
Yeah, it's infinite Mayo. Chances are you're going to find a use for it at some point.
I saw the book had some options. It had like beer, blood, magic potions, mayonnaise. I'm like, fuck, we're going with mayonnaise, boys.
Oh man, how's Britannia treating you?
Actually, it's quite possibly treating me better now. The job hunt may be coming to an end. Mm-hmm. I'll let you know for a fact next week. But yeah, maybe. Who knows?
Not much to report over here. Kind of a shameless plug. I picked two of these up, which are the hovering Infinitron USB audio adapter, just DACs, Vantech DACs. They were like £6 or £7 a piece. They system requirements, Linux listed on the box, plugged them in. They just work good on that. We're using them right now. But one thing we like to get some use out of every week, J-Baby, is our horse.
Yeah, unfortunately, our horse doesn't have that many USB ports. But, you know, if we cut some pieces out, we can maybe fit some more. And it's the Steamworks Update.
All right. Hey, man. SteamOS 2.121. Brewmaster. You know it. You love it. Really, the big takeaway from this, Flatpak is now all official and shit. It's good. They've updated the kernel to 4.11.12. The Misa 17.1.2, it's in there as well, along with, you know, a couple of security things and stuff like that. Pedro, you seem to find some things to be excited about.
Yeah, it's more than a few distros right now have actively introduced Flatpak support by default. And, you know, with SteamOS being that one particular distro that you kind of need to be compatible with if your distro hopes to run video games from Steam, you know, because of the whole Steam runtime thing. Yeah, with that one supporting Flatpaks, you'd probably do well to support them too.
Like I said, I'm just looking forward to when Steam actually says, fuck it, we're just going to say, you're going to ship your game as a Linux game, just give a Flatpak, because that will literally solve all of the compatibility issues. We can go to these devs and say, no longer can you complain about, oh, I got to support SUSE and Fedora and Ubuntu and Debian, and no one supports Arch because screw those guys. Now you can just produce a binary that is ingestible by basically any system. As long as they have the right drivers, they're good to go. It's exciting stuff.
Yeah, man.
I do want to know though, why the hell are they shipping Apache? What possibly could they use Apache for? I'm sure Mir knows, because he brought that up with the MySQL thing. Apparently Steam Music uses it for whatever the reason. But why Apache? Why bind? Maybe. Why do you need your SteamOS to run a DNS server? You guys.
Well, probably the music player. If
it needs
any
a DNS resolver,
tiny amount of web functionality, you probably do well to have those, and they're tiny. All things considered, that's not exactly what's making SteamOS that much bigger. So it's fine.
Bind the Berkeley Internet naming demon, man.
It's a few K of space.
Well, I mean, hey, man, look at it. Sildat is basically, it's like, hey, man, the music player and the video player. You got to think about all that stuff that no one ever uses, right?
Yeah. Especially like that inbuilt Apache functionality. You got to host your own local web server and shit. I don't know.
I don't know, man.
Well, they do offer functionality for that if you want to host your own like peer-to-peer game server to help people around you get games faster.
See, that would actually be interesting if you could actually set up your Steam box as a local mirror. Because that would be great, because if you have multiple Steam boxes in your house, you could just say, I have this game downloaded here. Now it's just over the LAN. Boop.
Well, what about like in-home streaming and stuff like that? Maybe
that's all Shadowplay though, isn't it?
Yeah, not on Linux, is not.
Or whatever gimped version of Shadowplay that NVIDIA provided to Steam because they paid them money.
It's HEVC, and now you can also use NVEnc because, of course, you can.
So, what's this about?
Well, this is part of that whole Steam web UI revamp, what they're doing. They've been slowly introducing changes to several parts of the community site. And this one is about groups. You know, that thing that some people actively use and most just have a group for the sake of having one and a curated list, which is, in my opinion, far more important. But more on that later. This update brings a new type of group, because before you could only have closed groups. You could only join them if someone invited you to it. You had public groups where you could just join them at will. Now you also have restricted groups, which if a group is restricted, you can apply to join. So basically it creates a request queue of everyone who wants to be a part of that group, and you just do it. That's basic functionality you'd expect that's how most sites that let you have groups, all that. So yeah, this is Valve not so much improving as catching up on stuff they should have done from the start. Yeah.
I don't know, man. I'm looking at this and it's like, God, that is way too little too late. But I guess maybe that's not even necessarily true, because, Steam's never going to become a social network. Why, you might ask? Because it's a PC and there's a billion better options. Unlike when you're locked into an ecosystem like Xbox or PlayStation and you're forced to use those tools in order to communicate. Though that's not the case on PC. Jay, baby?
I don't know. Like you could make the argument about Steambox and just having that functionality built in. This is a feature I don't really engage with because I don't really use the social medias all that much in any capacity, really. So, I mean, I imagine there is some very vocal segment of the fan base who is clamoring for this shit. I'm just not a part of that.
I highly doubt it. Hell, most people seem to complain about the exact same things I often do, which is the curator system. It's horrible. It's still horrible. It's stupidly limited, and it serves basically no practical purpose.
Well, man, one of the things about the curator system is it's been so horrible for so long. Most of us have just quit bitching about it. We're just like, okay, we've tapped out.
But it could be better.
They are trying to integrate the curator stuff into their new Steam algorithm. So
Yeah,
I
wish they'd just get
don't
on
know.
with that.
They should. It may be that it warrants some improvement on that front. But I'm getting a little chilly, you guys. My nipples are kind of like pencil erasers. I wonder why.
Ooh, we are going to be talking about Canada after all. Yes. So this is The Long Dark. It's yet another first-person survival game on Steam with crafting elements, which is no longer in early access. The first one of this...
Whoa!
Yeah, the first one of this guy, it's a bit pricey. First one of its kind was actually Planet Explorers. And The Long Dark, I actually did a... what's it called? It's got a Jordan title.
The busted ass early access show.
Yes. I did one such video with this game. It wasn't so much busted ass as it was just very poorly optimized. And the less you could see, the worse the performance got. It didn't make much sense, but hey. And it's out. It's run through its paces in early access, and it's now out, and you can get it for that's pricey. It's 25 at 10% off. It's £25 here.
It's about 40 Canadian wet stinky. The one thing they did add, though, on top of the early access sort of survival-y Minecraft mode, is they have the first 2 episodes of a story mode that's supposed to go on for about 4 or 5 chapters. So that's interesting. It gives you a bit of context for surviving in the cold. I think it needs more narrator from Kona, because that guy has like a fucking buttery smooth voice. You want to spread it on some toast and eat it.
Looking at it, my first thought was like, didn't we just play a game with a Canadian in it and we were surviving some things? Then
Soma.
Yeah, Soma, exactly. No, that was Canadians underwater, under glass. But $34.99. This thing better be amazing. Maybe Pedro will... What do you think, man?
I mean, it is story mode, and they did send us the one key. They refused to send us more. They sent us the one. That's the one I used to do that video back then. So, yeah, I might actually try story mode since I gave Planet Explorers the same benefit of the doubt. Probably be doing the same with this one.
All right. So a video game that angers, confuses, and terrifies me is getting some multiplayer.
Listen, I'm on a bit of a Mayo kick this week because this game, Stardew Valley, you can actually make people fall in love with you by giving them a jar of mayonnaise every day. It's a little mental. They'll just straight up want to marry you. But now you can give mayonnaise to your friends because they have announced a long-awaited multiplayer mode. It's not actually released. They're saying 2018 is their expected delivery time. And you can build, in the single-player mode, you can build these farmhand stables. That has some disturbing implications, but whatever. And your friends can then join and go on quests with you and go do the Harvest Moon stuff. Now, this isn't a really action-packed game or whatever. It's kind of just like a chill-out, smoke some pot, or I don't know, do whatever drugs mellow you out. Don't do meth and play this game. It's just going to end badly because you're going to grab a hoe and start like digging up your carpet trying to plant seeds. But it looks like the PC multiplayer is going to come out first, and it looks, because this is FNA, it's probably going to be based off Flibbit's network code that we've seen in such lovely games like Charlie Murder and Dishwasher, the Vampire Simile. So,
well, wait a second on that. The network code on that.
Yeah, it's a non-violent game. How are you supposed to go to the next screen if you can't beat up your farm?
Right.
If you can't bash your friend that's having some latency issues, how will you progress?
Well, I guess we'll find out in 2018.
I don't know. I mean, what's this game all about? I've never did anything more than just give it a cursory glance. It's like, yeah.
Imagine Farmville with a story mode.
It's less Farmville and more Harvest Moon. The whole idea is like there's a village, you got to run a farm, you got to start a family and shit.
Farmville with a story mode.
I've never played Farmville, to be honest. I thought it was just like you get your friends to like your corn or whatever.
Okay, admittedly, I played Farmville until it started bugging me to bug my friends. That's when I said, no more.
But Pedro, what do you think about my corn? I need to know. This is important.
No, you said that and you were joking, but it's stupidly on point.
I'm just imagining like Korn, the band, like standing there, and Jordan's like, "Rick, what do you think, man?"
Well, I mean, I know their music is garbage, but I planted them in the ground and I poured a bunch of water and poop on them, so I hoped something would come out of it.
That could definitely be a thing. Okay, Montezuma, it's back, man. For some revenge.
We talked about this a while ago, back when this was a Kickstarter, but this is Aztez, not to be confused with Aztec, or Chipotle, where you can get that Mogo virus or whatever it is from eating their chicken, or get your credit card stolen. Anyways, this is a side-scroller beat-em-up. It has a really cool stylized art style. I actually really dig this. But they combine it with sort of... What was that NES game where you play that god... ActRaiser. It's basically ActRaiser. Where there's like this overworld thing where you can plant seeds and go manage armies and stuff like that. And then you can drill down and go beat people up, I guess. It's out. You can pick it up for around what how much is this? About $20, 10% off.
$19.99. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a Kickstarter game that delivered. They said summer 2017, and hey, it's summer 2017. It's out. Yep. You apparently it has full controller support, so that's good. It does require you to agree to a third-party EULA. I hate when games do that. It's like I'm already buying this on Steam. I don't need to go through
every single Electronic Arts published game makes you do that. Every single Ubisoft published game makes you do that. I
don't know. I mean, definitely looking at this, it's like, maybe we'll bug him because I'm always looking for the turn-based game, and it's like, this one doesn't suck, and I actually want to go back and play it outside of the review. Huh?
Yeah, and I mean, this one has like the beat 'em up elements too, so it sort of tempers your loathing of turn-based stuff with.
Right, exactly.
Hey, you can punctuate it with beating the crap out of crap.
Give me something to take my mind off the bullshit that is turn-based strategy, and maybe we can talk. You know.
Yeah, maybe.
Although someone in the notes called this Montezuma's Revenge, and I'm like, oh, is Montezuma's Return coming to Linux? No.
Aww.
No. See, whenever someone says Montezuma's Revenge, I immediately think of like the aftermath after eating a bunch of Mexican food.
Okay.
But anyways, then you know what I'm talking about. You've eaten a taco or two in your day. Anyways, this is the Tacoma. It is. Speaking of salty buttholes, this is the latest game from the Fulbright company, Tacoma, that sort of space station explory bits. They've updated the Linux. They have a Linux version available. They have the minimum specifications. You need a 2 gigahertz processor, 4 gigs of RAM, 11 gigs of space, and a decent video card. So here's the thing with Fulbright is we know they can set up an atmosphere. They can make things really, really creepy, and
it's just the payoff that just ends up sounding like a wet fart.
Thank you for finishing my sentence, Pedro. They cannot really pay it off. They have this wonderful build up, and they just completely waste it. But this is less of a puzzle game. This is more you get to see the plot from varying angles and piece it together, and so on and so forth. Hopefully, they've learned some stuff from Gone Home, because I feel our criticism was rather legitimate. Some people
I firmly believe it was legitimate. It's just long at the very end of the game. There's some stairs leading up to an attic.
Yes, and it is the most
been locked throughout the whole game, and you're going, "What the hell's up there?" I want to know. I fucking want to know.
Zero payoff. But anyways, it's more of an explorative visual novel than an actual game. So this might be more up Fulbright's speed. I guess if they maybe decide to send us some keys 3 this time, actually, we might take a look at this.
Yeah, it's exactly the kind of. Well, I guess they call it interactive experience nowadays that you'd expect from the Gone Home people. And if they can make that, have that very same overbearing and intense atmosphere, but at least have a freaking payoff this time, and we're good. It will probably not shit on Tacoma as bad as we did on...
I don't know, man. I guess maybe at the end of the day, some people dig the story exploration thing that, to me personally, if you're sitting there thinking, I don't know, does this really qualify as a video game? Then I shouldn't personally be playing it.
It's not so much playing it as you are driving the story forward. And I guess can't really be too hard on Fulbright because there are people out there, the Chinese room, who do it much, much worse. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about something I'm excited about. That's Hollow Knight 1114 Hidden Dreams. That's right. It is here. It's a real thing. And best of all, these beautiful, beautiful Australian development team. It's part 1 of 3 completely free DLC packs that they're making available for the base game, which I do believe, I'm checking right now, currently on sale, $9.89. Pick it up, you'll love it, because I love a good Metroidvania with hints of Dark Souls. I love a nice fuck you hard game that is well done. And Hollow Knight, almost 60 hours. Almost 60 hours I currently have in it. Let's see. They did fix the achievement bug on Linux, so that was kind of interesting.
Actually unlocked now.
Which was kind of irritating me because I was at like 89% completion, and I was like, which achievements do I have? All those unlocked, and I got about halfway done. So I got a lot more to do. 2 new bosses were added, a new stag station. Haven't found the bosses, found the stag station, and the ability to set up Fargates. They call them dream gates. It's basically quick warp with your soul sword. You like set up a thing, go run, and you can warp back to it. Pretty cool. Huge fan of this game. Really liked it. Love the art style. It's like it's the only Metroidvania type game I've seen done right in a long time.
Yeah, well, couple of years. The last one you sunk a bunch of time in was Axiom Verge, yeah?
Oh, yeah, to completion.
Well, that's not Metroidvania. That's just Metroid.
Yeah, that's, I'm surprised somebody didn't get fucking sued on that one.
Yeah. But, there's one other thing that makes Hollow Knight kind of turbo awesome special, which is the fact that it's a Unity game with stupidly tight controls, which you rarely ever see. So, yeah, it's just let's just say it's a platformer that I gave 4 chairs across the board when we threw chairs at it. Mm-hmm. That should tell you something.
No, I genuinely tried to pick the Hollow Knight apart. It's like you nailed everything. It's like, I guess it kind of goes back to your first experience with platforming. Yeah. For most people of my advanced decrepit age, it was the original Super Mario Brother. You know, on the NES.
For me, it was Alex Kidd because Master System.
Yeah, I played that as well, but I got the NES first, and it was that type of platforming just cranked up to 11 with all the pretties. And Jordan hates platforming games almost as much as Pedro claims to.
You know what? I'm all right with platforming games. I actually liked Hollow Knight. I didn't give it. I only gave it 3 chairs on fun. That's why I got 4. It didn't get 4 to the floor. Yeah, I'm sort of holding out on Hollow Knight because I know I could sink a bunch of time in it. I'm waiting for like the next period of unemployment where I can just fuck around there, because it's not controller snappingly hard like maybe some other games that we might be talking about later in the show, but it is a decent amount of challenge, and it's a good difficulty curve. They really nailed that down. So it's good that they're releasing more content for it. And it's even better that they're releasing it for free. It makes me happy on the inside.
Yeah, man. It's just like, this is one, and we got 2 more. It's like, charge me for them. I don't care. Just put it all over my face.
Yeah, and the game is huge too.
Right.
Like, why is this a 10 gigabyte download? Oh, that's why.
Well, that's the whole time.
Big game.
Like Linux Nero, and I think Truggy's playing it. We're playing it. I think maybe they'll go back to it. And like, where you at? They got 10 hours in. I was like, man, you haven't even started.
Yeah, 10 hours in, you get to use the Y button now. You get the soul sword thing. Okay, all right, you're finally giving me full use of my controller. Thanks, game. Only took me 10 hours.
Right.
Well, you know, that's enough sucking Hollow Knight's hollow schlong. Coming up next, we talk a lot about drivers in varying contexts. And Ben tries to build CRYENGINE. We'll see how that turns out.
Gentlemen, boys and girls, yes, it's about that time where we get to, take a little break from the newsy bits and thank you. Yes, let's thank you. Thanks you very
for
much.
Nothing. All right, enough of this. We want to thank the lovely people who give us money week after week after week, and you can be one of those people by heading on over to LinuxGameCast.com, click the support the shows button. We got lovely picture of Empty staring at you. He wants you to buy stuff from our Amazon affiliate links. He's so excited. Just look at him. And there's that horse as well that may or may not also be Empty in his secret identity as Horseman. Yeah, we got the Amazon affiliate links. We got the Amazon wish list, which you should totally buy stuff on the wish list using the affiliate links if you're going to do that. By the way, let us double dip that. If you do so, you end up on the fuck wall. Our lovely assistant Vanna Frank, he's handling that. You can be immortalized.
Jordan, I fear we've made a mistake. I've combined the power of Frank and Lord Cage in one scene. The pixels, I mean, what you're witnessing is reality almost tearing apart.
It's
you're
beautiful.
Witnessing the singularity is what you're witnessing.
It's beautiful. Just like the rise of cryptocurrency in the modern world. And, you can give us some magic internet money as well with that lovely QR code. Got a Bitcoin address. But the best way to support us and best way to get all the cool benefits that come with supporting us is to head on over to patreon.com/LinuxGameCast. 105 people are giving us $188 a week. That's pretty awesome. You too can be one of them. You can get access to show notes. You get access to like 100 odd Patreon exclusive videos, early access to our Let's Play videos. You're funding the bi-weekly streams, Tuesdays and Thursdays. Pedro, Ven, and I, we go play some video games. Sometimes Sandy shows up. Sometimes Empty shows up. Sometimes Strider shows up even. It's kind of mental. And we got one last person we want to thank, and that's Mr. Poopy, Mr. Alan Pope. What did he do, Ven? Why does he deserve our ire /love / also ire?
Oh, he just wanted some of that sweet Discord access. We were doing the show Wednesday, and you nailed it. Alan Pope, you probably know him if you know anything. He's like, oh man, yeah, I'll do the Patreon thing. He got some of that sweet show note access. He's like, oh man, I'll see if I can come up with a great name to, misenunciate Poopy or come up with a play on the words. And he's like, yeah, most people just go for Poopy. And of course, Jordan immediately was like, straight to Poopy.
I've been calling him Alan Poopy for like as long as I've known of the guy. So
that was super cool of him. Hey man, thanks to everyone, Narlin, Strider, Claudia, Jill and Steve, Mir, everyone. I can't name everyone right now, but you'll also be in the credits and all that fun stuff. It's brilliant. You keep us from having to do commercials. This is just a big thank you that we get to do every week. And again, those affiliate links, awesome to everyone ordering through those. That's like, oh, wow, we actually have a little buffer zone for a change. We can buy things like something.
Like a humbucker.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was about to say. Things to make Jordan's live streams not make you want to jump out a fucking window. Yeah.
That's kind of the point, though. I want you guys to kill yourselves because I hate you all.
Nah, you're just saying that because you care. Okay, well, let's get into the business.
Yeah, it's big news for OpenGL fans. 4.6 is out. Kronos has released the specification. The big thing here is they're adding SPIRV support for OpenGL, so you can write your shaders in SPIRV. Now, because I'm not an OpenGL developer by any stretch of the imagination, take this with a big old grain of salt. I do not know how cross-compatible shaders for Vulkan versus shaders for OpenGL are going to be. Regardless, you can use the same language to write these shaders, which should greatly simplify some cross-stack compatibility if you want to support both. There are also some additional parallelization extensions to help take advantage of multi-threaded, multi-core architectures to improve OpenGL performance. And the really cool thing is that thanks to open sourcing of a bunch of the validation components, we should start seeing OpenGL 4.6 land in Mesa a lot faster than before because they can actually inspect the tests and make sure that their drivers conform and do so in a much more rapid manner. So this is all really, really cool. You can't take advantage of it just yet. We'll be talking a little bit about the drivers or the initial driver support for it later. It's just the spec that's been released. We're probably not going to see any games utilizing it because everyone should be moving over to Vulkan. But that being said, it's still a good step forward.
And they also, just a teeny tiny thing, they also introduced interoperability with Vulkan and Direct 3D by enabling a few GL extensions. There's a list of, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them. It's mostly going to see use in Windows, but hey, if it'll help people actually port their DirectX games to Vulkan, I'm all for it.
All right, but NVIDIA has released a beta driver.
Yes,
you can definitely check that out. It's not 100% production ready though.
No, this comes.
Go on.
This comes from the developer page of the nvidia.com domain. So yeah, it's mostly aimed at people who want to test the new OpenGL 4.6 driver features, and since no games use OpenGL 4.6, at least that I know of up to this point, it's mostly developers that are going to be using these drivers. That said, I was looking at the compatibility list on this driver page, and it says that you will need any one of the following Fermi, Kepler, Maxwell, or Pascal-based GPUs in order to access OpenGL 4.6 functionality. For me, that's the 400 and 500 series of video cards, which, as you may remember, there was kind of a big deal because NVIDIA refused to support Vulkan on that particular generation. So explain to me like I'm 5, give me the ALI 5 on this one. Why are they now getting SPUR-V support with OpenGL 4.6, but Vulkan is still a big no-no?
Probably for the same reason that like the Tesla, not the Tesla, well, they're getting the upgrades to the drivers on the Windows for several of the professional applications. For the Titans, they're like, we need to release some new drivers that give it 30% performance because this Vega thing came out and we have competition.
I was just going to say, it's just the shader language, right? So all that means is the driver will now understand SPUR-V. There may be some hardware stuff that's missing in the Fermi series that Vulkan actually requires to function, or more likely, it's NVIDIA just doesn't want to support Vulkan on those cards because it's going to be a lot more trouble than it's actually worth.
So why support SPUR-V at all on them?
Because OpenGL and Vulkan are different, Pedro. You may not have known this, but they are.
No, but if it's about introducing new technology to old hardware, the same argument still stands, be it for SPUR-V or Vulkan.
Not really, because I can write a program that'll run fine on oh no, Ben's getting all handsy. It's making me uncomfortable and also giving me a chub. Regardless, it's just a language, and there may be some Vulkan stuff that the newer hardware can support, or like I said, it could just be NVIDIA saying, "Hey, you want to use this cool shit? You got to buy some new video cards from us." But speaking of source, Ben, tell us about CMake.
Hey, man. Was it? Yeah, I don't know. Was it CMake? I think it might have been CMake. I don't remember. I've tried to block this memory out. CryEngine 5.4 Preview 2 is here. Why are you talking about that? Because you can actually download it from GitHub and attempt to compile it. It didn't like my version of CMake. And then I kind of ran out of fucks exactly at that point right there. But just the main reason I just wanted to mention this was the simple fact that it's the CryEngine, you can download it from GitHub, and it will compile on Linux if you have a newer version of CMake and you're not running an LTS. It's progress. Now, I got something kind of fun for you guys, right?
All right. Go for it.
I brought this, but didn't even bring this up. I found it when I was doing a little bit of research for CryEngine, because, Star Citizen has famously been like, maybe Linux, maybe not Linux. If you do a search for Star Citizen game engine, Google will give you an info card clearly stating that it is announced for Windows and Linux, not Mac. So, I don't know. Maybe, do you think it's too late for CryEngine?
You know what? It's never too late for them to deliver the functionality. Is it too late for them to be relevant with regards to said functionality? Yes. I think people who have started developing their games in CryEngine, or people who have gone through the bidding war and the CryEngine has won out, are going to continue to use it. But Unreal, Unity seems to be like the two winners of this engine war. At least that's my opinion.
Well, Unity, for as much as we rail on it because of the Unity ghetto, and that's kind of their fault. But they won. As much as we would like Unreal to be right up there with Unity, Unity is the third-party engine at this point that most people seem to go to, and I'm not entirely unhappy with that, because yes, the performance on Linux, if the developer doesn't really know what he or she is doing, it's going to be shit. But we've also seen plenty of games that actually handle Linux compatibility beautifully, and they run stupidly well on Linux. It's just a matter of the tool using the tool, knowing what they're doing.
I think really the trick is if you minimize the number of components that differ between platforms, i.e. using OpenGL or Vulkan or whatever, then you don't have to go back and rewrite things. Everything is debuggable from that standard, and so it will increase your game's performance just by virtue of that. But anyways, speaking of people doing crazy shit with OpenGL and Vulkan, every time I see a blog post from the Dolphin guys, I get excited because it's like, oh, I wonder what kind of psycho shit they're up to these days. And as it turns out, this is the story. Now that the emulator has gotten to the point where it can run most games at native speeds at like 1080p resolutions or whatever, people are starting to realize, hey, this shader stutter where it has to compile the shaders and load them is really starting to get annoying. It's really rustling my jimmies. So they've attempted a couple of solutions. They tried asynchronous shader compile. They tried to find a way to share shaders between games, developing some massive common shader library. All of those not that great because just by virtue of how the Dolphin GPU the GameCube Wii GPU works. Interestingly, the Dolphin are not Dolphin. Fuck, god damn it. the GameCube and the Wii actually do share the same GPU because it was so powerful that they're like, yeah, we don't really need to change this. But anyways, the ultimate solution they've designed is pretty mental. What they have done is they've created an Uber shader, which is effectively virtualizing the GameCube GPU in OpenGL and Vulkan, so that when the game actually requires the shader loads, it works the same way that it would on an actual GameCube or Wii. It just submits it to the GPU and returns it. Now, this is a huge performance sink, though, because emulating a GPU is pretty heavy, and if you don't already have a beefy GPU, this is going to be problematic. So they actually combine this with asynchronous shader compile, so they'll have the skeletons for them, but the shaders themselves will just pop in randomly once they're finished. So by having most of the shaders handled by this Uber shader, this interpreted GPU, and then just popping in the more complex ones later, they've actually managed to increase performance to the point where most games are playable with only minor stutters on NVIDIA cards, and that is apparently an issue with the driver. And of course, like good open source developers, they have given you a little guidelines if you're using Windows, if you're using Linux, if what you should do for each mode. And if you're using Mac, too bad, the drivers suck. But what I find really interesting, though, is that according to them, when you're using Vulkan on Linux, RADV performs basically the same as the AMD Vulkan driver. So that is pretty good. Again, that is another project that just astounds me with the project they made. They have a fully conformant Vulkan driver that people are actually using, and it performs decently well, which is insane for an open source driver project. And it can
run Vulkan games on Wine. It could do that within weeks of inception. It's like, wow.
Yes.
Wow.
But it does seem, of course, I mentioned the NVIDIA issue. It looks like unless you fork out the mad ducats, mad ducats, as it were, NVIDIA is not going to help you out with debugging their driver problems because give us money.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's absolutely a thing. So with the performance hit, I mean, especially, doing a CPU is crazy enough. Doing a GPU on top of that, did they kind of nail down exactly what you would need, system-wise? Like, are we looking at Pascal to walk
they
in? Or?
They did not say.
Yeah,
That part isn't true. The one part that did surprise me though is the developer who actually came up with the solution was surprised that these games run at full speed, even though according to him they really shouldn't. So,
and it's actually they have right now the way that it works. It can either work with just the Huber shaders. You can have a hybrid mode, or just the old way that everything used to work. And the hybrid mode actually attempts to sort of alleviate that pop-in that you'd get. It renders the shaders the old way around for those that would take longer by using Uber shaders, and the ones that are just fast enough with Uber shaders get rendered right then and there. Now, you will still see those stutters because those Uber shaders provide a much better performance, and so they get replaced by they replace the old ones once they get loaded in. So yeah, it's not perfect yet, but they will at some point get it working, and that is awesome.
Pedro, just one more time. Say Uber shaders. What? Just one more time.
Uber shaders?
Okay.
Not Huber shaders.
Uber shaders, Uber shaders.
Listen, man, I got video evidence of you doing.
Oh, you have video
all your
evidence of
bosses,
me cocking
Pedro.
up in English? Okay. In other shocking news, Sky reportedly still blue.
It seems pretty black here, actually.
That's racist, man.
All right. So, hey, look, it's OpenMW. Yep, we go from one awesome project to another one, and these insane people have been at it for years, and they're not stopping. Even with a massive engine overhaul in the middle of it all, they have something that works. They have a game or an open source engine re-implementation of the Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind, which you could compile and play on Linux from start to finish. The main quest, all of the, or at least most of the side quests all work as well. Barring any outstanding bugs that may show up, it's 100% playable. Now, there are still things missing from the re-implementation, as in shadows specifically. They finally got around to implementing distant land. Of course, it's just static distant land at this point. Distant objects and creatures don't get loaded unless you're already loading that cell. So that needs a bit more work. And they do have a Linux-specific known issue, because if you want to use the tar-gz package binaries, you need Qt4 and libpng12. So those could use an update. OpenMW, yeah.
It's just an insane project. We've basically been following it since it was something that you could compile and kind of walk around in.
Yeah.
And now to see it come up to this state where it's a completely functional and playable game is kind of amazing. It definitely could use some more pretties, though. I think that's completely fair to say, though, isn't it?
Well, yeah. They're dealing with that because they actually have a sister project that is attempting to redo all of the art in Morrowind. It's actually not directly related to Open Morrowind, but the Open Morrowind guys have said we support all of the Morrowind mods, so this should theoretically work with our stuff. And if it doesn't, it's their problem because they did it in a weird way. But I'm just waiting for them to say, "Fuck it, we're just going to go with the Vulkan. We're going to do with the Vulkan graphic stack now." I think that after 1.0, I think that should be their goal.
Well, it's actually part of their roadmap, not just to completely re-implement everything that was available in the vanilla version, but to improve on it. And they've actually done a lot of improvements because, yeah, at first they were actively replicating bugs to make sure that everything worked as it should, like it did in vanilla. But then they started, okay, let's fix the bugs and fix everything that broke by fixing that particular bug they had to replicate. So, yeah, right now it's a better version than what you had in vanilla, and the performance is actually a hell of a lot better.
But we're Open Skyrim! We're Open Skyrim!
Many, many years away.
Well, maybe one day we'll be able to play it on our PS3s.
Oh, maybe. Or, if you really want to see dragons flying backwards, because that was a thing with the PS3 Skyrim. Nope, this is PCSX3 or RPCS3, not PCSX3. They are another group of insane developers, sort of newcomers to our news segment, but they've made a lot of progress in a very, very, very short time. They're currently sitting at 11.26% completely playable games. About 23 get in game. You can get to the intros of about 30% of them. Tsunemi-ku. And 16% of them you get, it's loadable, and 18% still do nothing. They can't load them, can't even look at them with this particular emulator. 11%, over 11% playable games of the PS3 library. That's pretty good. That's really good. So, yeah, the little table they have at the top of the article is just a little differential between July and June. This is the progress report for July, and the big Linux news is that now you have an app image. You don't
I'm
have
sorry.
to compile it.
They're snap packages, man. Snap packages. snap.
No, they're flat packs. Come on. But yeah, you could just download it now and run it. You don't need to compile it. And they claim that basically, regardless of your distro, it'll work even all the way back to Ubuntu 14.04. You don't really... They actively recommend that you use the compilation method, because the way that it launches games, it basically compiles everything it needs as you launch the game the first time. So right now it uses the LLVM recompiler, and it used to have issues. And
maybe they should implement an Uber shader.
Yeah. It used to have issues, but they finally got it mostly working, and they actively recommend that you use the LLVM method right now so that games work about as well as they can. And since they're making all this progress and all this in this short amount of time, I have a few game requests, namely GTA 5, The Last of Us, the entire Souls series available on the PS3. That's Demon's Souls, Dark Souls, and Dark Souls 2, and Nier.
I'm gonna throw onto that. I would love to see Journey, because that game is fantastic. Mm-hmm. The 2 Metal Gear Solid games, MGS4 and Grad Zeroes. I'd be okay with the 3 remake, because that's pretty good. And also the Zone of the Enders remastered series, because I'm a big Hideo Kojima fanboy. Sue me. Fight me. I'm like 12'8" on the internet, you guys.
Hey, man. No, I'm definitely feeling with The Last of Us. If we get that business up and running, I will purchase a copy for PS3 on Fleabay and go through whatever moon ripping I'm going to say I'll go through the moon ripping process once I own the physical copy. And yeah, I've always wanted to play that game. I think that would be interesting. And yeah, these psychopaths have definitely been crushing it. This is like, I almost feel like we need the update of the week just for this project, right?
Yeah, well, between these guys and Dolphin, for sure. Mm-hmm. But a couple of more games have gone from unplayable to playable, including the Kingdom Hearts series and the Yakuza series. So yeah, goddamn psychopaths. Jeez.
I only have the one game that I got from the local video store because it was the smallest one. And it's Resident Evil 4, and it's still turbo slow, regardless of whether you're using OpenGL or Vulkan. Because yes, it supports Vulkan and it works, but some games just do not care. If the performance is shit, that's because the emulator can't really do.
It's because they need to run at 59.94 frames a second. They can't run at 60. That's why. Yeah. All right. Coming up next, we got RESTful Doom. Yeah. So this is Doom with the REST API because, web developers are obsessed with just ruining software development for the rest of us. Everything needs to have a JSON API. Everything needs to be RESTful. This is just another point of the clear distinction between computer scientists and computer engineers. But there's basically REST APIs for everything within the game, which when I thought about this would actually be pretty neat, because then you have a standardized interface for like tool-assisted speedruns of Doom. That would be kind of cool.
Yeah, and you can actively change anything in the game so long as the API can pick up on it. You can change it from the browser.
Listen. Neat project. I'm just saying, this is what happens when people get wicked bored and don't have access to drugs. Shit like this happens, man.
I'm pretty sure these guys do have access to drugs and are actively on them while developing this.
Okay, maybe, but they clearly have access to the wrong drugs.
Yeah, they should just send them all to LinuxGameCast for sure. But but I think maybe it's time to put a tiger in your tank then.
Because then I got to scroll all the way over here, move over here, and prepare to switch over.
You suffer, Ben. Suffer.
Oh, it's brilliant. Shut
Makes me hard.
I'll get you back next week, man. Panzer Faust 9. Panzer Chasm.
Panzerschreck.
For reverse engineering of game Chasm. The Rift, a.k.a. you might have known it as Chasm, the Shadow Zone. It's a first-person shooter. It came out. It was a thing. It was meant to compete with Quake. Spoilers, it didn't. And it's been reverse engineered. Apparently, this is up and running. I think it might have been Rohit. This has been in our show notes since way early this week. But I think Rohit got it up and running and posted it in Discord. He's like, yeah, all right. Makes for the working. Originally released in, 97? For the DOS platform, and I mean, if that's your thing, it's always good, even if a particular game's not your jam, man. To have these just for the future, and I like it when people reverse engineer all the things because reasons.
Yeah. It's an SDL2 port as well, so everything will just work out of the box on most systems. Your Raspberry Pi, your whatever,
Wayland.
What's that going to do us?
I guess that's going to do us. Coming up next, get ready to dry your hankies because the tears are coming. We're throwing chairs at Mighty Number 9. Finally, you guys, it's happening. Ron Paul! Oh, sorry. You just caught me finishing up my 99th combo because I just got so many of them after playing Mighty Number 9. Developed by Concept, NT Creates. It's on Unreal Engine 3. You can pick it up for around, up until recently, you can pick it up for around $6 on Humble, but right now it's going to cost you about 20 of your local currency. What is it? Mighty Number 9 is a 2D side-scrolling action game that takes the best elements from 8 and 16-bit classics that you know and love and transforms them with fresh tech, or modern tech, fresh mechanics, and fan input into something completely mediocre. You can pick. They didn't send us keys this time. We bought this with our hard-earned money for $5 on Humble. So let's kick off the chair acquisition. Next, 1 chair means it's crap. 2 chairs means meh. 3 chairs means that's pretty good. 4 chairs means it's awesome. We got our categories. Oh, Doom. Mixed with the working, shiny sounds, controls, and fun. So while you watch Danny Sexbang talk to Mega Man, let's kick off the chair acquisition. Ben, did it make with the working?
Man, it definitely made with the working as he learns to hit the right damn button. Over here on the Ubuntu 1604 LTS box of business, it ran with no serious issues whatsoever. I mean, it managed to hold a solid 60 at 1080 for the most part, with everything on 11, minus a few drops in the 30s in certain areas. And you can definitely tell this is a Unreal Engine 3.x game simply by those initial load times, but nothing to really genuinely blow it up about. So I'm going to be able to give it a solid 4, and really no complaints.
Yeah, on the note of the Unreal Engine 3 shader compile times, having an NVMe drive does not help at all. But I was running this at UHD. It hung around 45 frames a second pretty solidly for the most part. So on Fedora 26 64-bit with the i7 6700K GTX 980, against 4 chairs.
Yeah, it took almost a full minute doing that initial shader compile on my end. Guess Steam needs to get around and start shipping those precompiled drivers already. Well, outside of that, there were a couple of loading screens every now and again that just took a little bit too long, or at least longer than they should have, but could have been hiccups because they were very few and far between. So for me, on the FX 8370E and the GTX 1080 on Ubuntu Mate, it gets 4 chairs.
Okay, that's 4 chairs for Mixed with Working. How about Shiny and Sounds, Ven?
All right, well, let's talk about it. You know, I'm genuinely surprised someone didn't get sued because several of the baddies and themes in this game kind of screech over the inspired by line in the sand. But that aside, check it out. The graphics, they kind of look passable for an indie title. However, they kind of also look like absolute dog shit for a $4 million indie title. The characters, the animations and stuff like that, it all comes across as, if I had to put it in just one singular word, lifeless, soulless, hollow. It's kind of like if you taught EA executives how to make the game and let them do it themselves. Now, with the sounds part, I do feel that the voice actors did the best they could with the script they fucking had. Okay? I'm going to give them that. They also kind of sound like during the reading, they're like, fucking really? This is the dialogue? Okay, we'll do what we can. However, none of this really genuinely matters since you're going to nope the volume after the third, possibly fourth time Mr. Number 9 says the exact same thing after he does another thing. I kind of wish I could be more detailed on that thing that he did. But ladies and gentlemen, at this point, I'm dealing with repressed memories. Got to give it to... It's got visuals. They're not horrible. I didn't want to kill myself. And it's got sounds. You just wish they would shut the hell up most of the time.
Yeah, it actually took me a couple of listens to figure out that all the characters, at least for Number 9 and Danny Sexbang, were not voiced by the same actor. And of course, you hear it a bunch of times once they keep talking over and over and over again. But we'll get to that a little bit later. But final point in that, this game reminds me of the Seinfeld episode where they kept talking about pretzels. Sorry, I'm just watching Ben get slaughtered by that robot. It's good times. The graphics are okay. You can see what's going on here. They're pretty standard. They're nothing to write home about. They get the job done. They are acceptable. And at the end of the day, it's just like a 2.5D Mega Man. I could not hear the actual music of the game over the blind rage I was experiencing. But again, we'll get to that a little bit later. I gotta give it 2 chairs. It's just kind of middle of the road.
You know, given our precarious position in time, since we're right there on the edge of the robot revolution, I probably shouldn't say this, but fuck it. We're not there yet. I want to punch Call in its stupid robot mouth. That's the Colonel robot. Who the hell thought it was a good idea to make the single most annoying and personality-less lollybot character shout every single one of her moves in a completely out of place mandatory stealth section of the game? Everything about that section is bad, but the fucking repetitive shouting, jump, jump, barrier, barrier, in that monotone voice made me genuinely angry. I found myself screaming, shut the fuck up, right back, and then I realized the futility of my ways, and I just went to the audio options menu and muted the voices. Pro tip, you will find yourself having a much better time when you're not listening to shit voice acting. Now, I'm not saying the voice actors are shit. No. I'm sure, like Ven said, they did the best of what they could. It's just that the voice acting in this game is bad. Really bad. Especially from a game that got $4 million off of Kickstarter. The graphics, well, they look good for a late PS2, early PS3 era game. 2 chairs.
Yeah, to your point, Egoraptor in a sequelitis video about Mega Man actually brought the point that Mega Man doesn't have a character screaming at you whenever you need to go do something. This game does exactly that, which I find kind of hilarious. Mm-hmm. Anyways, that's 2 chairs for Shining Suns. Up next is Controls. Ben, what do you think?
Hey man, One thing we can say positive about this, I think kind of across the board, I don't know, correct me if I'm right, the controls are basically pretty tight. I use my X-Clone controller and nothing to really report. I mean, it's genuinely nice to play something that when you cock up, it is your fault technically with an asterisk next to it. With this, I mean, it wasn't because... Like last week, we were like, something's just fucked up with the controls here. All right, something's sloppy. Nope. I mean, you move, it moves. If I really had to find something to say, well, I have this slight little issue with the controls, it would be the amount of friction between Mr. Not Mega Man and the floor. But that absolutely isn't enough to blow it up at all. So you're going to get a solid 4 chairs from this business.
Oh yeah, very, very much ditto on the friction issue. For sure, there are some issues with that. By the way, I ended up playing this on the Xbox controller as well. Do not try and play this game with a DualShock 4 controller paired in big picture mode, because goddamn, it sprays and prays the controller configuration. I thought big picture mode was supposed to take care of all that. I guess not, but I mean, you can rebind everything, but it's not quite intuitive what you're rebinding stuff to when it all is said and done. So it gets Sting the chair for that, but beyond that, 3 cheers.
Yeah, there are many issues with this game, but controls are not one of them. Not once did I feel like I hit a key on the Steam controller here and it didn't respond adequately. Though there are some pretty stupid design decisions which directly conflict with the controls, or at least how you think that the controls should work. But that is something for the fun. As far as the actual controls go, 4 chairs.
All right, well, that's 3 cheers for the controls. And finally, fun. Ben, did you have fun playing Mighty Number 9?
Oh, man, let's talk about it. Any of y'all bitches beat a boss yet? Because Old Man Vin didn't, and Old Man Vin's got 4 fuck-mothering hours up in this business. And, wow, exercise and futility. And we were talking in our pre-super shows, and go check that out. It's not that I couldn't beat Pyro, because Pyro's the obvious one to go to. I even set it to 9 lives. It's just about my 4th life when it started clicking in. I was like, okay, now I got the pattern. I ran out of fucks. My fuck tank was empty. It really was. And another thing with this game is the checkpoints are hella fall apart. Just, you hope you get to the right area in the map, because I've Alt F4'd this game several times because I didn't get to the right part. It's like, start back at the beginning. And it's like, die in a fire game. When you are playing the game, when I was talking about the controls are tight, but this game has a multitude of fuck boxes in place that you could possibly say maybe it's just bad game design or they didn't intentionally. I don't know. And that's kind of amplified by there's no easy mode for this whatsoever. There's no casual mode. This is just regular mode. And Mega Man 2 was like my jam, and I used to just school that fucking game. This not so much. The next live stream I do, probably going to be Mega Man 2, because I got to see if I just need to go get a Walker for my X-Clone controller. You do end up getting killed to death a lot with character blindness, because that's a legit issue with this game. Not because of too much shit going on the screen. Nay, that's not really your issue. It kind of falls squarely on everything having a similar color palette. You just get lost in the pastel of like, all right, maybe, boom, all right, I'm dead. They do kind of mix things up with your traditional Mega Man, because now you have a dash absorb mechanic that replaces the tried and true blowing the shit out of your enemies. That took a little bit of getting used to. But ultimately, at the end of the day, if you played Mega Man, you kind of have an idea of what you're into. And I think that's why a lot of people kind of backed off buying it after hearing the negative reviews. I mean, this is just a hollow attempt, and a really poor attempt at trying to recreate Mega Man with some paint by numbers fucking formula that somebody came up with that they thought would work, and missed every single bit of it. I mean, I don't know, man. This is, it feels all corporate-y. That's the wrong word for it, but that's what it is. 4 hours in, one chair, fuck this game.
Yeah, I never really played Mega Man growing up, so whatever nostalgia that drives this game doesn't really appeal to me. It also means that I didn't really develop any of the muscle memory for Mega Man games, so maybe that's just my excuse for being terrible at this game. In fact, that is my excuse for being terrible at this game, that is literally probably the first Mega Man I've sat down and tried to seriously play. But this game doesn't appeal to me because, maybe if I were 7 years old, I had the time and patience to trial and error all the various bosses, figure out the jump arcs, figure out how to dodge properly. I might be singing a different tune, but these days it doesn't really do it for me. It's just trial and error. Even with Demon's Peak, you eventually sort of find your stride and with the really crappy controls, and you don't necessarily enjoy the experience, but it doesn't really do anything. It doesn't do anything to grossly offend you. It's just not fun. This game, I just do not enjoy. I don't know. I can go into specifics. I tried a bunch of the different levels. I can get to a couple of the bosses. Pyro, I got him to about 2/3 of the way down, just because for whatever reason I tried to do that jump they did in the trailer when he jumps over the fire thing. I cannot land that jump for whatever fucking reason.
You have to hold down the bumper button long.
See, and that's the thing. They're just, oh yeah, use the dash button. Oh, there was one part in the electric level where they're like, oh yeah, use the low dash or you'll get murdered to death by buzzsaws. I'm using the fucking low dash. I'm not taking my finger off the buttons and I'm just mashing it as much as possible. And I still died trying to get through those fucking razor blades. I don't know what the hell I was doing wrong. And then the game does this thing where it's like, oh, are you struggling? Here's a bunch of power-ups. And they're not helpful in the least at all. There are some cues from Mega Man games. They do the thing where they'll expose you to the different types of enemies you're going to face in the level, and that's decent. But I don't know. I feel that there are some more core fundamental deficiencies with this game that ultimately need to be addressed. And yeah, maybe in easy mode, so that people who aren't really good at platformers like myself can at least get used to it, and then maybe try normal mode or something. I don't fucking know. I just did not enjoy this game. One chair.
I don't think an easy mode would have helped it. And this comes from someone who, albeit limited, did have some experience with Mega Man games. I played, can't remember if it was X4 that came out on the Saturn. I played a considerable amount of that. But playing Minor Number 9 is actually like getting a crash course in everything that's wrong with game design. It's actually amazing just how many things wrong it gets on a mechanical level. Let's start from the top. Nostalgia Culture gave this, the people responsible for this game, $4 million to make another Mega Man game, because over 130 games in a series just isn't enough. Now, I know some of those 130 are remakes and collections, but there are still almost 50 quote-unquote unique Mega Man games. Now, let's, getting into this game properly, tutorial. The tutorial level. Tutorial levels are supposed to explain the game mechanics, and often, in good video games, they put those mechanics into context with the narrative and just generally help them make sense in context. The tutorial level in Mighty Number 9 is the kind of level a 9-year-old Mega Man fan would have built on a pirated level editor back in 1999, with key prompts just slapped on the screen. It's not good. And perhaps, I guess the most egregious of this game's shortcomings is that it's not fun. For an action platformer like this to be enjoyable, it needs to straddle that line between boredom-inducing easy and frustratingly hard. And this game can't do that. It's 90% controller snapping frustration and 10% boring. I found the 3 boss fights that I could be asked to get to, well, 2, if you don't count the tutorial one, to be piss easy compared to the rest of the levels just to get to the bosses. And if for those of you that played Mega Man, you know how some boss weapons are more effective against others? Well, here, the starting pea shooter has a better damage throughput all around, regardless of which boss you're fighting, since it shoots about as fast as you can hit the button. It's pointless to use any other boss weapon other than maybe the sword, And the sword just, well, it's so broken and so unbalanced, it just makes mincemeat out of most of everything. Everything is unbalanced. Levels are filled to the brim with insta-death stuff. There are recurring, unavoidable damage situations. Enemies have the exact same colors as the backdrops of the stages they spawn in. The entire sense of progression is non-existent. Making progress depends solely on your ability to memorize everything that happens. There's no other skill involved. And make no mistake, everything in Mighty Number 9 feels like trial and error, not just your progress. Half-assed mechanics which see used just the once and get forgotten about, an entire alternate fire mode which is laughable in how bad it is and how useless it is. Bad and useless. There's an apt description for this game. 1 chair.
All right, well, that's 1 chair for fun. Tallies out to about 2 chairs total. Maybe throw an asteroid on that, because this don't play this game. Final thoughts?
Well, this game had an inordinate amount of hate thrown all on it, deservingly. Mm-hmm. But a lot of that hate came from just how mismanaged the Kickstarter was, how delayed everything was, and what was it, 2 weeks ago they were finally shipping out the physical rewards, the empty boxes with the missized manuals to go along with them that you had to assemble yourself. And, that's fine. I've always wanted to touch this game without that, because I absolutely did not back this on Kickstarter and play it. It's just not good. And I like a nice fuck you platformer. And Hollow Knight DLC came out this week, fortunately, to knock some of the nasty taste of this game's dick out of my mouth.
Yeah, it really shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone to hear me say that this game is a load of wank, but it manages to be an amazing load of wank for all the wrong reasons. The only thing that this game could ever hope to be used for is as a case study for how not to make a video game. How to make a video game that everyone will hate, and the ones that don't are either blind or getting paid to like it. You want a good action platformer to play instead? Hollow Knight, Salt and Sanctuary. Those are the ones you should be looking at. This is shit.
Yeah, I mean, this game is one of these unfair hard things, and you know what? I don't mind unfair hard games. I love FTL. I love Darkest Dungeon. I mean, they're radically different games than this, but regardless, the difficulty is still there. I feel like this game is just I don't know if maybe there's a kernel of goodness in here. I mean, they had Keiji Inafune signing on to be like the director. But Keiji Inafune, more like, your game is bad and you should feel bad. Coming up next, we talk about RSS feeds, and we discuss, once again, why our code dissecting tool nomenclature is very, very poor, but we're still going to use it anyways, because fuck all y'all.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, if you're our Patreon, you should be on our Discord channel right now. Even if you're not watching us live, just scroll back a while until the moment that we were actually doing the show. I hold absolutely no responsibility for the damage I just caused to your retinas. But hey, it's the end of the show. It's that time where you can basically call us out on our bullshit. We said something you didn't like or you thought wasn't accurate. Well, someone actually did that this week. But you can do it too by going to LinuxGameCast.com. Hit the contact button, fill out the form, pretty easy. Make sure LGC Weekly is what's selected in the selection box. That's it. We'll feature your comment right here, right now, if it is pertinent, relevant, whatever you want to call it.
All right, coming up this week, man, right out with the Tech Mad.
Ooh, yeah, Tech Mad. He actually got in touch because he was having some issues. Hey, I can't get LGC Weekly audio version to play on the Pocket Casts web. It seems to be failing to connect to feedproxy.google.com. Your other shows are fine. I reported this to Pocket Casts with no response. Annoying people keep interrupting me to do work. It's nice to be able to resume the show on any device. Yeah, that is nice, actually.
Yeah, that was kind of a thing, man. There was kind of an issue. Not anything really on our end. It was having issues with the live stream sync, remembering positions with what was he using? Pocket Cast. With Feed Proxy, which is, FeedBurner, which is the thing Google uses, and we've just used it because, back in the day, that was the hot shit to use. If you're having that issue, this will be in the show notes along with everything else. You can use our direct feed instead of using the FeedBurner thing. That sorted his issue. I hooked him up with that. It's done. And on top of that, because we're going to be changing our back end for the podcast stuff, FeedBurner links are going away, but hopefully no one will ever notice because they will be immediately redirected to our own local feeds instead of going through that nonsense. So, somebody wrote Jordan back because he was wrong.
It's not going to be the first time. He says, "Hi, Jordan." This is from Frank, by the way. Not decompiled. It was converted from assembly source code to C with the custom tools. You can't decompile and convert because you can't be sure what's code and what's data. He's, of course, talking about Mr. Boom, that Bomberman clone. And he provides a little link to a tool that they used. So, yes, this was not decompiled. It was disassembled. Or it was converted from assembly source code to C. Honestly, I'm not really sure what the full semantic differences are, but regardless, we're gonna call it a decompiler because screw you, Frank. Not you, Skeleton Frank. You're cool. Talking about you, Frank. You're also cool for sending us some hate mail, but whatever. There you go. I'm wrong. Cop to it. Fuck all y'all.
I got that exact same bit of hate mail a while back from the Zorius developer, because I too said it was a decompiler, but it's a disassembler, and he came back and was like, "It's a disassembler, it's not a decompiler." So a good rule of thumb is to basically remember it's not a decompiler, it's a disassembler.
It's a decompiler. Got it.
Hey man, don't worry. Unreal Engine 4 is open source.
Also, pi is exactly 3.
Oh man. Hey, if you get anything you want to scream in our direction, we were really heavy on the hate mail last week. Kind of blew our load. And didn't have much this week. That was a little bit of hate. If you got some thoughts, hints, allegations, send them our way. And Jordan also answers questions. A lot of people forget this. Relationship advice. He is the local Dr. Drew. We could do love lines. Maybe we'll do that for one of the Tuesday or Thursday streams with a little bit of call-in magic. But until then, I think it's probably time. Isn't that right, Mr. Cage? Yes, that's right. To cue the music, you can always find us around 9:30 Eastern Time when Pedro gets his bandwidth sorted. We're promising to finally doing a show probably somewhere around 5 going live in that area. Sorry, I completely thrashed my voice doing reads today. And but if you want to get a hold of me, you can find me at Vinstone on the Twitter nuts plus Vinstone, G+, all that. Send us some comments. Smash that like button, fam, if you're doing whatever that means. I think you hit the thumbs up or something like that. It's kind of brilliant.
I'm Jordan Spung. You can find me on Twitter or Google+, disassembling code, decompiling it from assembly to JavaScript to Python to brainfuck to your mom at the Burn Fool, and plus Jordan Spung, respectively.
All right, you can find me still at unaccounted for on Twitter. I don't go there very often because, internet's been limited lately. And I'm also plus Potatoes on Google+, which that one I check reasonably often because it's just sneak in a little bit of social medias, mostly keep up on what people are sharing, what the news are. So hopefully everything will change come this Wednesday. That would be neat. Really neat.
Okay. Did we learn anything this week, gentlemen?
Yeah, it's a decompiler.
It's decompile. Decompile all the things, and you're beautiful and you're awesome. Tell yourself that and believe in it, and it's kind of neat, and sometimes it works out until fate's like, fuck you, and it smacks you down, but always get back up again. And LGC cares and shit, because we actually do. We'll see you next week, Dynafire. Bye-bye.
And roll the ever-increasing lengthy credits.
Which
Oh, God,
I totally
they're so
forgot to
long.
get around to doing, so we're just pretending they're rolling. And, don't worry.
So long. Too boku.
All the names. Didn't, cause
And there's an
I,
extra Alan Pope this week.
yeah, I
Thank
gotta
you.
add, yeah, that's why I gotta re-render them. And all that fun.
Double complete poopy.
Double complete poopy. I'll just do one that's like just Alan Pope like 70 times, so it's another 2 minutes long.
Yeah.
Everyone's name gets replaced with Alan Pope.
No, it's John Smith, John Smith, John Smith, Alan Pope, John Smith, John Smith, John Smith.
Oh man, come on, winter time. Bring it. Make it cold.
Not yet.
So cold.
That would be real bad.
But you know what's knuckin'
Because I'm in the
butts?
UK. That means a lot of rain.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy? As of next week, 5 years.
Who knows?
5 dudes.